Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Each episode, you'll dive into conversations with top entrepreneurs, visionaries, and business leaders, unlocking the secrets to building profitable relationships that drive growth and success. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hey there, welcome to Partnerships for Profit, powered by Leduc Entertainment. I'm joined by Jhana Li, the founder of Spyglass Ops. Jhana, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you tell me about Spyglass Ops and maybe how you got started with it?
Yeah. So Spyglass Ops, we do operations. We work with generally 7, 8-figure startup entrepreneurs, and we're helping them really get that operational structure and infrastructure in place so that they're able to scale up the business while also successfully scaling the founder kind of out of the grind and the day-to-day weeds that got them there. In terms of where I got my start, it was a funny story. I was living in a van full time. I was traveling through North and South America with a now ex-boyfriend, and he was starting a online startup. And so I was, helping out, answering questions, trying to problem solve with him. And through a series of odd events, I ended up joining his team for what was supposed to be 30 days, fill in for somebody. And I actually became that company's COO. I got my start in operations by being that second in command operator for his and then another very successful digital startup. And that really set me on my journey of learning what is operations, why is it such a poorly understood or poorly utilized component of the business world, and how do we fix that so that business owners are able to fully capture all of the profitability, all the efficiency gains in their business, and ultimately achieve both scale as well as personal freedom and lifestyle.
It's awesome. You're speaking my language. I have a very different background, but I've found myself really loving operations as a skill set and as a way to problem solve often overlooked aspects of business, and finding ways that there could be some efficiencies or where's waste and how can we improve systems and, actually make the machine run smoother. So I love it. I love it.
Amazing.
Yeah. So what does day-to-day look like for you in this role?
Yeah. So, of all the people in the world, I should be able to operationalize my own business, right? So day-to-day honestly looks like a lot of this. At this point, I have a team that's essentially running every core function of my business. My team is amazing and they're running all of that largely without me. I keep getting respectfully uninvited from things that they no longer need me in. And so life looks pretty good. I get to do what I love, which is coaching, educating, being on podcasts, speaking on stages. I travel to a few events every month to do that. And then when I'm not working, I am living my life. I live in Utah. And so I am always in the mountains. I'm in the desert. I'm backcountry skiing or whitewater rafting or rock climbing or whatever the heck it is that I want to do. Because again, that's kind of the core promise, right, of operations, is that we're able to build a machine that can run and scale with or without us. And so I like to hold myself accountable to being my own proof of concept there.
That's awesome. What do you feel like Spyglass Ops does exceptionally well? And maybe give me some specifics and within the world of operations, what do you find to be your bread and butter specifically?
Yeah. So we do our best work with online-based startups, and generally these are bootstrapped companies. So think marketing agencies, SaaS companies, coaches, consultants, professional services, because our specialty is really around building high-performance remote teams so that those teams can turn around, scale the founder out of the weeds, and we specifically focus on the second-in-command operator role. So we do recruitment for COOs. We do coaching for COOs if they already exist in the business. Our methodology is to identify that right fit operator in the business and then work with them and support them to achieve all of this overhaul within the business. I don't believe that the visionary founder should be responsible for the operations of their own business. So our first job is to get them out of that role and get the right person into it.
So, but you're not a fractional COO firm, correct?
It's a good question. So the way we actually work is we do a little bit of everything. So we come in, we do an audit of our clients' businesses. We identify, here's what the next 12 months of operational growth look like for you. And then if you need an operator, we can recruit them. If you have an operator, we can coach and train them. But short term, you need somebody in that role. So for the first like 90 days, we actually place a fractional COO from my team that's personally trained and knows your business to get started on those really high leverage bottlenecks, the things that are going to immediately unlock growth while we're either recruiting or coaching up your long-term fit.
So having that in-staff person, it makes sense why maybe your target is kind of like e-commerce or SaaS or kind of the digital services, because you probably have a lot of overlap solutions that your team has worked on. So that's makes sense for the niche. Cool. What was I going to say? I mean, we're talking a lot about visionaries and operators. So this is a lot of EOS language. So sounds like we're kind of living in that world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I have pulled a lot of great insights from EOS and from the many other operational methods out there. Yeah. So I don't subscribe to EOS directly. I've just pulled all the things that I like the most out of all of them. And again, like when we're talking about digital startups, the world is changing so fast, right? With COVID, now with AI, what it means to run an online startup, what it means to build a remote team is literally changing every 12 months. And so I think any methodology needs to be adaptable and stay on the cutting edge. And that's where I put a lot of my focus.
So with your the different efforts, whether it's podcasting or speaking, you have a lot of it seems like you're doing a ton of marketing. Is that how you're describing the problem that maybe these visionaries are facing? Is like, hey, you're in the weeds way too much with your business. We can come in and help alleviate that. Is that kind of the messaging that you're okay? I got it. That makes sense. So you place a fractional COO for the time being, as maybe you're looking for a replacement long term. What is that the main service that you're offering? Is like a 12-month like retainer, or maybe 12 months is too short of a time to get some major traction? What's kind of the average tenure of clients?
Yeah, so our clients generally work with us between 6 to 12 months. It depends on how much hands-on support they really want and need. But our goal, again, is like, I don't want to create a dependency with my clients, right? I think there's a lot of operational support out there where it's like, we'll build your systems and we'll plug in and we'll become this operational team that you need to pay top dollar to forever. And don't worry, we'll handle it all. And that just feels like a total disservice to the client, right? So yes, we'll step in. Yes, we'll start getting these things done. But just so that you can get a more immediate result, long-term, my goal is that we're building you the team that, again, is self-sufficient. It's self-managing. Yes, in the operator role, but really in all roles, so that you have built yourself a scalable, sellable asset. And if that means that one day you want to scale and sell, we can help you with that. If that means you want to turn it into a lifestyle business that runs without you, we can help you with that. We don't have a one-size-fits-all approach to working with our clients. We want to know what is important to our clients. What's success look like for this founder 12 months from now? And then we're going to reverse engineer a custom game plan to get you there, and then walk hand in hand with you over the next 12 months to make sure it happens.
So digital startup. So probably nowhere near the exiting stage for these business owners, but maybe like if they have that in the as a future goal, you can at least tailor the conversation for that. Exactly what you just said, like depending on what they're looking for in the future.
Totally. And we absolutely do help our clients scale and sell their businesses, right? I think any founder who's looking at selling their company knows that they're going to need certain operational pieces in place if they want to get the maximum valuation and exit at that time of sale. So our ideal client is maybe 1 to 2 years out from that, so that we have enough time to build all of that operational value, and then they're getting that top dollar when they're ready to exit. But we've helped clients exit within 60 days of working with us. We walked in and started working with the client as he was in the middle of exiting his company because he knew that he needed operational continuity, and he didn't have it, right? So again, we're not a one size fits all. So we're able to be adaptable to the situation and just plug in as much operational value to get the founder to their goals, whatever those goals look like.
So you're not a one size fit all, but within the world of operations, you need to have some standard that you work within. Sure. So like you need to walk this fine line of like, you want to help out as many people as possible, but you need to have systems in place that you can actually apply there. So how do you manage that balance of
Yeah.
Not
It's a
being
great
cookie
question.
cutter, but helping out where you can.
Yeah. So my ops methodology, I call it the Spyglass method. And there are 6 core operational pillars that we'll look at and we'll work with our clients on. The pillars are strategy and strategic alignment, leadership and your leadership team, your core team, your frontline team and their performance, communication within the business, systems, and then data, right? So across these 6 core pillars, the way I talk about our audit sometimes is like, have you ever taken your car into a mechanic shop and they'll give you like the full breakdown, like that 100-point checklist of here's all the things that are working in your car, here's what's not working, here's when it's going to break, and here's what it's going to cost you. That's essentially what we've created for your business, right? There are best practices and standards that will lead to the best strategy, the best team, the best leadership. There are best practices that we can guide you towards. But within that, every business needs a different blend of these things. Every business needs more or less leadership, a bigger or smaller team, different systems, different data. So we can optimize you towards the best practices while still making sure that like the version of that we're building for you is the one that's going to get you, again, to your goals. The version of your business that scales and has a multi-8-figure exit is different than the version of your business that stays exactly where it is, but you get to run it with 4 hours a week. Yeah. So you tell me, which one do you want? And then we're going to build you the set of operations that you need to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I think I asked earlier, like what y'all excel at. What would you say are current issues that you're facing, that you're actively trying to solve? And you're in a really good position because like you have, because you know operations so well, you know how operations can alleviate these problems. But like give me a snapshot of where the company's at currently with issues.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think, so most of the clients that we work with are so good at marketing and sales, and then they struggle with operations, right? Ours has always been the reverse problem. So good at operations and scale and product. My weak spot is marketing and sales. And so, really since starting the company 4 years ago, that's been true. And we've just gotten continuously, like slowly better and better and optimized around what does our long-term marketing strategy look like. So right now we're making a pivot from like a primarily like direct response paid ad strategy towards more organic content based marketing, right? The speaking has always been super consistent. The podcasts are always great for us. But finding that more, again, if we're talking about dependencies, a marketing strategy and a marketing ecosystem that can run regardless of how many stages I do every month. That's kind of our next goal when it comes to scaling myself well and truly, like, again, quote unquote, out of the weeds of the business.
Yeah. Nope. That makes sense. Yeah. Let's see. Tell me, I mean, you mentioned the travels. Tell me about that. That seems like maybe that's a big core value of yours. I mean, you were traveling, you said North and South America. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing is like, I really don't mind going to these events because they're so fun. Right. And even just this year, I will be in Nashville twice, Mexico, Costa Rica. I love it. I love that we as digital start entrepreneurs have earned the right to build a life entirely by our own design. And that gets to mean whatever you want it to mean. That can mean time with your friends and family. That can mean you become a digital nomad. That means you could live in a van. That means you can just travel as much as you want, right? So I live in a house now and I loved living in a van, but I'm so grateful to live in a house. And that doesn't mean that I still don't want to go 1 to 2 weeks every single month. I'm going to go to Europe for a month this year, right? I think the promise of digital entrepreneurship, the promise of operations is that you get to build a life that truly matches what matters to you. And the tragedy that I see is that all of us have those hopes and dreams when we start our businesses, but then somewhere along the way, we become the number one employee in our own company. We become the person working 60, 70 hours a week. We become the person that can't take a weekend off or can't take a vacation. And so I talk to so many of our clients and they're like, what do I want? I want freedom. I've always wanted freedom, but freedom has literally never felt further away than it does now. And that's the gap that we help our clients bridge, because there is a way to get there, but what got you here will not get you there.
You've made yourself a very high paying job for yourself.
Right. 100%. It's kind of the opposite of likely what you started with and what you wanted when you began. Right. And so it's not that entrepreneurs aren't smart. It's not that they aren't hardworking. It's not that they're capable of solving the problem. It's something else. What is it? It's that this thing called operations isn't well understood, isn't well managed. They're trying to do it, but let's be honest, they're terrible at it and they hate it. And yet they continue to try and force themselves to fit that mold. Versus our strategy is no, be the visionary founder. Do the thing that's going to drive the most amount of growth and revenue into your business, and delegate out this piece called operations, because you need it. You need it if you want to scale. You need it if you want freedom, but you're actually not the best person to make it happen within your own company.
Yeah. This is sounding a lot like E-Myth. I love that. I love that. That was a big book for me to kind of open my eyes to that. Yeah. Share some of the success stories that you've had with clients that you've like integrated your operations strategy and gone through that. You say it was a 6-point framework, 8-point framework.
Yeah. Like our 6 core pillars. Yeah.
Yeah. 6 pillars.
Yeah. I mean, for me, again, success looks like we've helped founders achieve their goals. So for one founder, that meant when we first started working with him, he was working 60-hour weeks on average. By the time we finished working with him, he was working 4 hours a week. And then he successfully exited his company. For another founder, she loved her business. She just didn't want to have to be so involved in the day-to-day weeds. So we got her operator to the point that they were essentially running the day-to-day without her. And she had so much free time on her hands that she was able to run that business and then launch a second business, coaching entrepreneurs, which is something she was really passionate about. For a client we're working with right now, they are on a growth track of going from like 5 million last year to this year, they're going to be at 15 million. He wants the 60-hour weeks. He wants to throw himself into that company, work as hard as he can, and grow it as big as possible. Okay, fantastic. So now we're building him a team that's going to allow him to go from 5 to 15 in a single year and do that without the entire company breaking apart, right? So again, it's not about what I want. It's about what our client wants. And then are we building them the right version of their business as a vehicle to help them get there?
Yeah. And again, kind of circling back to what you were talking about of like not having a cookie cutter approach, but applying your strategies and people to each individual situation, depending on the founder's like specific goals. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
How do you go about, finding the right talent to bring into the team so that you can then like train them up and then prepare them for working with the clients that come on board? How do you go about building a team and scaling a team?
Yeah. So you asked, what are we uniquely good at? I think this is what we are uniquely good at. And specifically recruiting really top talent level operators. I think the reason for that is because I was an operator. Many of my team were operators. They were ops managers. They were COOs at earlier businesses that I've now brought in. And so it takes one to know one, and we know what we're looking for. So when it comes to, hiring our own team of fractional COOs, we're able to attract talent where these people have 10, 15 years of experience in operations leadership. Those are the people that we're placing with our clients to help them knock out those really high leverage, really crunchy bottlenecks. Then when we recruit for our clients, we have close to an 100% success rate on our client recruitment, because again, we know the COO role so well. And that all we're really doing is we're looking at this business and saying, cool, what does the right COO look like for you? So many of our clients come to us saying, I've tried to hire for this role before, or I have somebody in the role and they're not working out. And they're seeing that and being like, maybe operations isn't for me. No. Operations is absolutely for you. You just have the wrong person in the role because you don't know what to look for. We know what to look for. We've worked with hundreds of successful visionary operator pairs. You just need the right yin to your yang. And we're the people who are able to help reverse engineer and tell you, here's our recommended profile for who you need, not necessarily the person that you've had in the role in the past or that you thought you needed. And so there's a really important educational curve that we take our clients through before we go and we start recruiting. So they're on the same page around, what should this person even be doing? How much should I pay them? What's their job title, right? It's not just COO. What's their job title? Where do they need to be based? What skills do they need to have? What deliverables should they be working on in the first 30, 60, 90 days? We're able to break all of that down for them so that this person, when they do come in, is actually set up for success and is actually the right fit.
What about, so with the right fit, I understand about like the current holes in the company that the fractional COOs are trying to fill, procedurally and operationally, but what about like personality wise? Like how do you, because that's a whole other aspect of pairing two people together that are going to be working hand in hand. So how do you go about approaching that?
Yeah. So I always tell a story. A business partner of mine, Cameron Harold, he was the former COO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. He scaled 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
I watch a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, we love Cameron, right? So, he was this incredibly successful COO for 1-800-GOT-JUNK. He took them to, multiple 8 figures. He's the first person to say, I was a great COO for that business at that time. But if you had plugged me into any other business, I probably would have been terrible, right? That's true for every COO. Your business, I like to think of it as like a puzzle, right? And it's a weird, fucked up puzzle with all different edges and corners and holes. And the right COO is the perfect complementary puzzle piece that slots in and fills that negative space. So the right COO at your company will look entirely different than the right COO even at your competitor's business. Different culture fit, different personality, different decision-making, different communication, different management style, right? So that's what we're looking for when we're pairing our clients with their operators. It's not just like who's got a nice resume and their experience is comparable. We're looking for somebody who's going to work specifically well with your team, specifically well with you and how you like to manage and how you like to lead. Because again, the right operator for you is not the right operator for somebody down the street. And that's probably where people have gotten stuck. Is I hired an operator that should have been great because they worked out somewhere else. And now they're not working out for me. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. You just put the wrong puzzle piece in for your specific puzzle.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. That makes sense. You're working very closely with the visionary, and you want to make sure that that's going to be a good fit. Yep. Tell me about the podcasting strategy and the speaking. Like, how are you approaching that? How are you trying to solve that problem? You said that that's kind of where you're trying to scale and kind of grow and kind of a weak point, like, but clearly, I mean, you're doing it. So you're on stages, you're on podcasts. So how it seems like it's working. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I love about this show, right? Partnerships for Profit. It's really through partnership. It's through relationship building, right? I have gone down the road of outbound podcast outreach, right? Where you just send cold messages to podcasts to get booked on them. We've gotten booked on podcasts, but those podcasts haven't converted into any clients. Why not? Because they're not, to the ideal client. It's not an aligned relationship, et cetera. So what I have found to work best is that I am able to build relationships. I have a CRO who supports us in building relationships. I think he actually got me booked on this podcast because they met at an event, right? So awesome. It's through organic, authentic relationship building. And my goal, like how I measure success there is like, does one relationship become 3 relationships? Yeah. That's what I aim for. Does one podcast become 3? Or does it become 3 clients? Or does it become a referral partner that could become a client, right? As long as we're constantly getting that 1-to-3 ratio, then we're building an ever expanding network that will consistently pull in opportunity.
Yeah, growing exponentially with that.
Yep, exactly.
What about compared to like speaking? How has that been with you with the podcasting versus speaking as far as building that foundation of relationships?
Sure. I mean, I would say, podcasting is obviously more scalable, right? Speaking, you are taking 3 to 5 days to travel, speak, attend, come back. It's a lot. And so generally I cap myself to max like 2 events per month. But podcasts, I could do 5 a week. So I think it's really, we find the events to be really, really valuable from an ROI perspective, but they're also not the most scalable strategy. And so we like a nice healthy blend of both.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, with speaking, you can really, it's kind of built around kind of an offer and here's what you do. And you have a good opportunity for that. Podcasting seems there is a space for that, but it is much more of a one-to-one conversation that could be distributed across the platform. So
we also have a lot of success with virtual speaking, right? So I will partner with coaches or consultants who have communities of entrepreneurs. Maybe they have some sort of coaching curriculum. The great news about being an operations nerd is that there's so few of us that they're like, oh, you do ops? I don't do ops. Can you come and do ops for my people? So through that, I've had the opportunity to coach for people like Dan Martell, like Iman Godzi, right? Some really big names in this space where I'm bringing in an operational module or a pillar of their curriculum Zoom or a live masterclass, and I'm able to share expertise with that entire community for free, and the community gets all this free value. And then anybody who wants to work with us is just able to raise their hand, reach out to us, and we're able to work with them. And it's a great win-win relationship for everybody.
That's awesome. Well, wrapping up here, where can people find more about you and what you do?
Yeah. So the best place to follow along, guys, is on Instagram at the Jhana Li. I'm sure that'll be in the show notes for you. And if you DM me and let me know that you came in from the Partnerships for Profit podcast, and if there's any way that we're able to support you, I directly am in my own DMs. So I'm happy to answer questions, set up calls, if there's a way that we're able to support you, if any of this sounds interesting.
Awesome. Well, really do appreciate you having you here, Jhana, and sharing about your background and just, we can both geek out about ops.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all. Hope you have a great day.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.